Welcome to I Love Vibrant Health. We're looking at the charcoal story. This is a very fascinating experience in using a natural remedy in places all over the world. So I call it the charcoal story. Charcoal is used for cooking in many parts of the world, and when I tell them it's remedy, they're surprised. There are many simple remedies that can be done for sickness. We will cover them in different categories. There is one natural remedy that helps so many problems that it will be covered separately, all by itself, and that's activated charcoal. In the I Love Vibrant Health, each session usually is covering foods that can help a certain problem in digestion. Now we're looking at charcoal helping many different kinds of problems. Charcoal has been utilized and known most famously for more than 100 years in adsorbing, that's cut to its surface, not going inside like a sponge, adsorbing viruses, hormones, wound secretions, bad odors, gases, filtering water, fish tanks, and the best wood to make charcoal is the eucalyptus, because eucalyptus has a power to open the pores in the skin. Charcoal has the amazing ability to attract poison to its surface. So if you don't know what the poison is, you put 10 parts of charcoal, 1 part of poison material. So you want 2 tablespoons per quart of water, and there's no taste. You mix it all up and then you keep drinking through the day. When an unknown poison has been ingested and the person's going unconscious or has strange behavior, it's important to take plenty of the remedy before it ends the life of the victim. So, for example, take a nice tall glass of water. You may not be able to find a measuring cup, so just find a nice tall drinking glass, fill it with water, and 1 spoon in a tall cup of water will help diarrhea, vomiting, stomach pain, poisoning, bacteria, virus, fungus, prions. And you can drink this 3 to 4 times a day, 3 to 4 cups a day of this mix. If it is repulsive to the child, put it in grape juice. It is best if the charcoal can be taken by drinking, but sometimes there are other tricks if the child resists. You put it in on a spread in bread, you put it in olive oil, and it goes down easier. Charcoal can be made from any wood. Charcoal absorbs toxins and gases. It has no affinity for vitamins. Some people claim that you'll be using up all your vitamins if you take the charcoal. Other resources say it has no affinity for the vitamins. You can soak your feet in warm water with charcoal. Do a hot and cold foot bath with charcoal. The heat will open up the pores. You can add some drops of eucalyptus oil, and that'll help open up the pores. Charcoal is useful in nausea, in colic, the baby that cries from gas in the tummy, jaundice of the newborn, the little yellow baby. I operated a nursery in Mexico and did a lot of research and found that just the little tiny particles of charcoal in the little bottle with sterile water can help the bile pass on out. In the baby whose liver isn't quite ready for processing food. There are other reasons for jaundice, but that was the particular cause that I was treating. In overdose, you use the charcoal. In Crohn's disease, in irritable bowel syndrome, in ulcerative colitis, and diarrhea. So you see there's many digestive problems that can be helped by the use of charcoal. A warm bath for a baby with fever, making sure that the warm charcoal water gets in the armpits and the groin, it will do wonders. Many times I have like 1,000 people in line waiting to see me, and all quite serious cases. These little babies have to stand in line for hours. So I just instruct them to get big basins of warm water with charcoal in it and let the children soak while they wait. They start playing around and getting up, running around, and the mothers are thrilled. They get the remedy before they even get in to see the doctor. Make sure that the charcoal is in the armpits and in the groin. It will come, that the blood comes close to the surface, and the charcoal can work with cleansing the blood better when it's in the armpits and the groin. Boils respond to charcoal. It helps it come to a head, and you can lance and get the toxin out. This very, very sick baby responded in 12 hours from the charcoal. This lady had 35 years of ulcers on her legs. Every day we were treating her, soaking her legs in charcoal water. And she got up and jumped around and ran up and down the streets telling everybody the remedy really helped her. Now, when you have a toothache, you usually go to the dentist. But in some places of the world, and in some poor homes, the money isn't there for the dentist. What you can get is some powdered charcoal and a gauze. Soak the gauze in water, put a half a teaspoon of charcoal, roll it up in the gauze and place it right over the problem area. It'll draw out the swelling and help reduce the amount of infection causing the pain. And by that time, the dentist will have a slot to be able to see you, and you can get the tooth repaired. Powdered activated charcoal has a very large surface area for collecting the poison and the germs. Charcoal enters through the pores of the skin. Miners have gas masks that they can use for dangerous gases in underground mines. 1 quart of charcoal can absorb 80 parts of ammonia gas. Anthrax can be useful in, the charcoal can help in a mask to keep anthrax from entering the body. Miners are required by law to carry emergency supplies and have a room where they can go and survive a fire or a gas problem. Charcoal has the ability to absorb bad odors. It does not, however, take away garlic odors. There was a man in a hospital where we were in Mexico. He had a ruptured appendix, and the doctor gave up on closing him up because it had ruptured into his peritoneum, and he was hoping it would heal over time, but the flies were everywhere. And we sent them to the water purification plant, and they came with big bags of charcoal. It absorbed the odor. Then we put it over the wound area, and the surgeon was surprised, for the healing was happening. The man did get well. He was taken in for surgery to close it, all because of the charcoal. Now for eyes, God has some more surprises for us. The charcoal in a warm, wet cloth over the eyes can heal many eye infections, practically every one there is. We have done this on cases, hundreds of cases in the villages. Charcoal can be found in packaged capsules, tablets, powder, or in the fireplace. One can find large bags of it at a water treatment plant. It's not hard to find. If one takes charcoal at a different time from their heart medicine or blood pressure medicine, it is best because charcoal can interfere with the medication. First aid for a snake bite includes charcoal. You wrap above the bite, you take suction device, you pull out what you can, you keep it lower than the heart, you wrap with charcoal. And you make sure that is wet because it'll pull it out better. And they can drink the charcoal. There's no physical exercise to be done, and you're to go to the hospital for antivenin. In clinic, there was a little boy with a snake bite. His foot was so painful and swollen from the bite. And the second day pictured, the charcoal had done a great work for this. And 6 days, he was recovered fully. He was running all over the place telling everybody, be sure any snake bites treated like this. So another one came in, and he also was treated. He had been bitten on the toe by the snake. This little child had swelling all over the face. And in that village, it was so remote, there was war, and they'd shut off the road in Burundi from travel. In the evenings, no one could move. They could not get out to the hospital. They had all kinds of problems with their skin. Ulcers were everywhere. We lined them all up by the hundreds. Everyone brought their own bucket, and we had warm water, charcoal, and we provided the dressings. Maybe God multiplied them because there were a lot of people we were covering with dressings, holding the charcoal in place. The pastor was very busy helping us. It's hard to keep the bandages in place on the little children, but with a little distraction, it can happen. You can tie a little ribbon around to keep it on the head, around the ears, and the swollen lymph glands. The ulcers, you just treat them with warm, wet cloth with lots of charcoal on it. This one had been beaten on the side of his face, and it was really badly swollen and infected. And the rest of the family were infected. I think it was a staph infection. It had that odor. And so we put charcoal on everything. I'd run out of antibiotics. And the little baby had symptoms of meningitis. But we couldn't get out to the hospital. The road was blocked off, and we used charcoal. This one had so many wounds all up and down the legs. You can also use the bathtub, but very few in other countries have a bathtub. Warm water and wrap them in a sheet with charcoal, cups and cups of charcoal in the water for fever and for illness. It's in the making of charcoal to be activated, it is done underground where there's no oxygen. When I ran out, they wanted from my container. They refused to believe that their own charcoal that they cooked their meals with would actually help their wounds. So we did the process right there from their burned wood, chopped it up, beat it up in their big churn, sifted it with a wire sieve, and kept sifting till it was nice powder, and then put it in my container. They were happy then to take it because it had been in my container. This little girl was very swollen. She was so sick. And this lady gave all 5 of her children away because she was going to die, according to the local doctor that she had gotten help from. She had the infection in her foot that had gone into her bone. You can see it's all twisted and horrible and weeping. And she refused to have an amputation. I felt that she didn't have a chance, but we put her in charcoal. We soaked her and we gave her Bible studies, and she gave her heart to Jesus. And that is a key. By faith, God brought the healing. God can do anything. Every patient we pray for, He has the ability to use His healing hand after we've done what He's asked us to do, doing our best in all that we know how, and that we have the ability to access, and He will do His part. One lady came, she waited all week for her turn. She's very unhappy, hungry, and waiting and waiting. God gives us strength to keep on. There are so many of these kind of wounds. When you get a little boil on the nose, all you need to do is get a wet cloth with charcoal on it and apply it. It works in less than 24 hours. Charcoal can be used in treating injuries like bruises and sprains. This little boy had been beaten, and he was thankful for the treatment we gave him. One of the most beneficial remedies is pulverized charcoal. You can do it with a hammer, you can do it with a blender, and you place it in a bag and use it in wet towels, fomentations. This is a very successful remedy. And if you know what smartweed is, you can wet it in that. To students, when injured with bruised hands and suffering with inflammation, God's inspired prophet Ellen White said that she prescribed this simple remedy of charcoal with perfect success. The poison of inflammation was overcome by the charcoal, the pain removed, and healing went on rapidly. This young man had a blind eye infected for many years. We did our best with the charcoal, hoping that the worms that were in the eye, they would multiply because there's an abundant supply of bacteria. And since charcoal absorbs bacteria, we were hoping to be able to assist. We didn't have long enough, but he said he was better. One of the most beneficial remedies is charcoal. I just read that, and that's from Selected Messages, Book 2, page 294. And there were cases where the patient was suffering great pain. When it was confided to Ellen White by the physician that he thought it was the last before the close of life, then she suggested the charcoal, and the patient slept, and the turning point came, and recovery was the result. I have treated a case, very severe, terrible case of mastitis, an infection of the breast. The mother was moaning all night. I could hear her, but she was scared to come to the white doctor. When she finally was suffering so badly, she came, and there was, we wrapped it with warm, wet towels with charcoal, and she recovered. First night she had slept in a long time. On one occasion, a physician came in great distress. He had been called to attend a young woman who was dangerously ill. She had contracted fever while on the campground and was taken to our school building near Melbourne, Australia, writes Ellen White. But she became so much worse that it was feared she would not live. The physician, Dr. Kellogg, came to me and said, "Sister White, have you any light for me on this case? If relief cannot be given our sister, she can live but a few hours." I replied, "Send to the blacksmith shop. Get some pulverized charcoal, take a poultice of it, and lay it over her stomach and sides." The doctor hastened away to follow my instructions. Soon, Dr. Kellogg returned saying relief came in less than half an hour after the application of the poultices. So it's working through the pores in the skin. And she was having her first natural sleep she had for many days. Selected Messages, book 295, paragraph 2. In the same book, page 298, Ellen White counseled to teach nurses and patients the value of health-restoring agencies that are freely provided by God and the usefulness of simple things that are usually easily obtained. And then she says, "I will tell you a little of my experience with charcoal as a remedy. For some forms of indigestion, it is more efficacious than drugs. A little olive oil into which some of this powder has been stirred tends to cleanse and heal. I find it is excellent. Pulverized charcoal from eucalyptus wood we have used freely in cases of inflammation." Page 298, volume 2, Selected Messages. Always study and teach the use of these remedies. This child was infected since birth in his eyes. So we found some warm, wet cloth to put over. There were so many in that village with the same problem. So I'd like to show you how you put on the eye medicine. One of the most beneficial remedies is pulverized charcoal placed in a bag and used in fomentations on the eye. If wet with smartweed, it is better. The most severe inflammation of the eyes will be relieved by a poultice of charcoal. Put in a bag and dipped in warm water or cold, as will best suit the situation. This works like a charm. Selected Messages 294. It was a letter to Dr. John Kellogg in 1897. I have used this. Let me show you how. I get a little baby-sized stocking. I like the white. It could be black, and then it wouldn't look so bad to add black in there. And then I put in a spoon of powdered charcoal, and I dip it in the water. There, I just dribbled the water over it. I close it with a rubber band so it doesn't come running out. And for example, we'll use this dolly face. And we've put the stocking full of charcoal over her eyes. Then we put something to keep it on there for a long period of time. 1 hour if you're lucky, or all night if you're very lucky. On a child, it's not so easy, but if they're asleep, you win. You do this 3 times a day for very bad infections like I showed you, and you do it for 5 to 10 days and healing happens. I've done it on thousands of cases, and there's not one that we failed on. I'm going to tell a few stories, success stories, with charcoal now. In Peru, I slipped and grabbed a nearby shrub or tree, and it punctured my hand, which immediately swelled because it was a poisonous thorn. And I looked around for charcoal. Someone had been burning, so I put it on there. I got it wet with my saliva, and I hurried back to camp where I had the activated charcoal. Meanwhile, I sent a message home for my husband to please send the most powerful antibiotic to the rest of the Maranatha team that were coming soon to where I was. And before they even arrived, God had brought the relief by the charcoal. My translator had said that there were others who had not been so fortunate and did not know about charcoal, and they had to lose, it was amputated. One was the leg of a child. So it's a very good thing when you don't even know the cause of the swelling. Now in Mexico, there was a case of tetanus of a little 2-year-old who was having spasms, opisthotic contractions, where he's bent over backwards. And I prayed. I didn't know what to do. There's no bathtub in the hospital. They had a little baby washing center, little tiny thing. For the 2-year-old, it was too small. And yet we tried with just his feet sticking out to get his main trunk in there. But his head was bent over, and it seemed like he was always getting his head under the water. So we were struggling to keep. His parents were helping. And when we would take turns, I would go up on the roof and I'd pray that God would help and bless and give us wisdom. And he did. That child recovered. So the doctors came and they said, what do we do for a 42-year-old? So we laid her on a wet sheet and towel that was covered with charcoal, and the family made her drink some of the charcoal water, which I didn't think was a good plan, but she got well and went home. So tetanus responded very well to the charcoal. And there were, in Africa, many long lines with children waiting to be seen, waiting all day. So we had stations where we had big containers of warm water with charcoal, and the very sick ones who I couldn't see right away, they were put in that, and they eventually just got to feeling better, got up, started playing, and ran home. They were fine. It's like miracle. And in Guyana, there was a little 4-month-old to 6-month-old who had the symptoms of meningitis, and I was scheduling for this child to be flown out in an airplane that was coming. I bathed the baby in the charcoal, and I waited, I arranged, and then he was prayed for by Pastor Ted Wilson, president of our church worldwide. And when he gave the child back to the parents, the child was in good form and did not need to go out on the airplane. The parents said, we believe that God has healed our baby. So I've used charcoal, and I have confidence that God has put in the charcoal something we all need to know about in the last days. When war breaks out and it's harder to get medical help, if you have supplies of charcoal on hand all the time, you can save your family a lot of trouble. As we look at all the ways that God has given, there are many other ways that you can apply. If you pray, God will help you know how to apply the charcoal. when there's a break, a broken toe, first you get the x-ray, you find out if you need to set it, get the bone taken care of. And then to take the swelling down, keep soaking that good thing, that broken area, keep soaking it. If it's in a cast, that's not possible. But God will give you wisdom how to apply the charcoal whenever there's swelling, whenever there's inflammation, bee stings, scorpion bites, spider bites. You apply the charcoal and make sure it gets kept moist, and you will find great results. Thank you for watching the Charcoal Story. See you next time.